Good evening and welcome to another handicapping show. It is Tampa Bay Derby Eve, and that means the Tampa Bay Derby will be run on Saturday, part of a 12-race card at Tampa Bay Downs. We're going to be going through all 12 of the races at Tampa Bay. We did the handicapping shows already for the Pegasus Day. Then we also did it for the Sam F. Davis. Of course, I will be live at Tampa Bay on Saturday, bringing you some more coverage and watching the horse racing at Tampa Bay Downs. If you're not watching this live and you have a question, make sure to leave a question as we get you ready for Tampa Bay Derby Day. Again, what we're trying to do is kind of just highlight and point out how I look at some of these races. There's a all stakes pick 5 on Saturday at Tampa Bay. You've got the Tampa Bay Derby as race number 11. You've got the Columbia. You've got the Challenger, the Hillsborough on the turf, and the Florida Oaks. They've got an all stakes pick 5 on Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. Of course, it is all part of the Festival of Racing number 43 in the 43rd edition of the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Derby. So make sure to be there if you can. We're going to go through all the races, take a look at some of my notes, kind of like to point out how I see the pace and the speed of the race taking shape. We'll answer your questions if you have them, and then we'll handicap the Tampa Bay Derby. We've already got a full preview up of the Tampa Bay Derby if you want to watch that. So let's get to work. But before we do that, make sure to hit that like button. We want to get more people to watch the videos, so just hit that like button if you can, and also subscribe if you have not subscribed. But let's get to it. We've got 12 races on tap. Tampa Bay Downs, Tampa Bay Derby is the headliner. We're going to start off with race number 1, and this one is an $8,000 claiming race. My top selection in this race is going to be Excellent Mark. Now, the reason why I'm leaning towards this one is I think he can come a little bit off the pace. I think he's competitive at this class level. And Giannis Moses, he is a trainer a long time from Chicago, used to have horses at Canterbury Downs a long time ago. And basically, he's got some limited stable now in Tampa Bay, but he does kind of come in every now and then, seems to cycle his horses into form. And in kind of a wide open race that I think you've got about 4 or 5 horses that fit at this level, I'm going to be going in race number 1 with number 2, Excellent Mark. So that's my top selection in race number 1. Now, race number 2 is a maiden special weight. This is very competitive. You've got a Todd Pletcher who's got a couple of runners. You've got a horse shipping in for Shug McGahee that I think could take a lot of money. And you've also got a couple of first-time starters. My top selection in race number 2 at Tampa Bay is going to be Ringside. I like about this one is second start out, was bet down in that debut race. Now, that was a strong race at Tampa Bay on January the 21st. Run Corey Run ended up being the winner of that race, but Summer Cause was bet down. He was a Christopher Clement horse that day. And then the second Todd Pletcher horse really didn't run well. One you may want to keep an eye on, 8-1 on the morning line. Kelsey Danner won a couple of races last week on Fountain of Youth Day at Gulfstream Park. This one comes in here, first time out, by Street Scent, out of an Arch mare. And then on the outside is Shug McGahee Perform. He ran in that big race, was 5-1 against Maggie, who drew off on the Holy Bull maiden special weight race that day at Gulfstream Park. There was 4 or 5 horses being bet down that day. Perform took a lot of money, chased the pace up to the turn, but Maggie just drew off. He came back and ran evenly in the Fountain of Youth. I think Perform is going to be probably 6-5 in this spot. Goes from Jose Ortiz to Irad Ortiz. And I'm going to take a little bit of a 5-2 shot here in Ringside, but I think Ringside and Perform are definitely the 2 horses to watch here in the maiden race. Maiden special, race number 2 at Tampa on Saturday. So that's how I see. I think Ringside is my top selection, and Perform is going to be probably the race favorite in that race. So make sure to smash that like button as we want to bring you more handicapping shows. We're going to be going through all 12 of the races from Tampa Bay. Third race, we're going with a little bit of a price here. Roses by Liam. I thought he ran as a Minnesota bred in open company the last time out. A very strong race, made a mid-race move. The winner of that race was Reinvest. He was bet down that day. City Humor also comes back out of that race. City Humor ended up running 6. Roses for Liam ran a strong third. The buyer speed figure came back of 56. Now, Timothy Ham sends out a horse going from maiden claimer to maiden special weight. He ran second, closed first out, but that was a 55 buyer speed figure. And then longtime trainer Jane Sabelli, 7-2 on the morning line. Smooth Flying Mike, bullet workout back on February 7th. 5 furlongs and 1 flat. January 30th, 5 furlongs and 101 breezing. Couple of bullets for Smooth Flying Mike at 7-2 on the morning line. The reason why I'm going to end up going with Roses by Liam, I like the fact that he chased a fast pace. Second off the layoff, 2 works since that last race for Roses by Liam. And again, a strong card overall, some very tough races at Tampa Bay on Saturday. I don't want to take too short of a price in any one of these races early on. And I think you may get a little bit of 7-2, 4-1 on Roses by Liam in race number 3. Now, race number 4 is Turf, an allowance race. My top selection is going to be Saturday Night Girl. What I like about this one, shipping in Gulfstream to Tampa, second off the layoff, 1 for 4 at the distance, and some horses here. I think that is going to be a little bit overplayed. I think you've got Flashy 2 is going to take a lot of money. Blinkers off for that one. And then Except Temptation, that one for Thomas Elbertrani. He's 1 for 15 at the Tampa Bay meet. Except Temptation is 1 for 20 lifetime. Sweet Duchess is another one you can consider. Kathleen O'Connell, she does well at Tampa Bay and at Gulfstream Park. I do like the fact that she ran as a 3-year-old in the Florida Oaks, comes back a year later, lost to Dulcie Zell that day, now faces as an older horse, some strong races. So my top selection in race number 4 is going to be Saturday Night Girl, the 8 horse in race number 4. So top picks, races 1, 2, 3, 4. In race 2, I'm going to go with Ringside. I do think you can make a case, probably going to be 6-5, perform in that race. And then opening it up, I'm going to go with a little bit of a price. My top selection in race number 1 is going to be Excellent Mark at 15-1. And then in race number 4, on the turf, they'll be mowing the lawn. My top selection, I think you do want to take a look at Eau Claire for Arnold Delacour. Point of entry, turf breeding on both sides, 2 for 9 on the win end. And something to note about Eau Claire, 2 for 3 on the Tampa Bay turf. So that gets us through the first 4 races on the day at Tampa Bay, all part of a big race card. Remember, they at the All Stakes Pick 5. It's all part of the Tampa Bay Festival of Racing. I will be at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday as part of the 12 race card on Saturday at Tampa Bay. Now, race number 5, this one is a handicap. My top selection is number 1, Rest of the Story. First race at Tampa Bay, Florida bred stakes class. And I like the fact at 7 furlongs, this one usually comes from off the pace. And I think that's his best running style. You do got some speed in this race. Rest of the Story with a 77 buyer. Sterling Silver's got an 82 buyer. Does get the LASIK, so I think Sterling Silver, but Thomas Elbertrani, again, just not having a good meet. Another horse to consider is Take a Stand. Victoria Oliver, she's got a couple of horses. She's got Trademark going later on in a stakes race. This one for a longtime client, Watts Humphrey, will take charge. Ran in the Miss Revere Stakes, but off a layoff at Churchill Downs. But she does get horses to run off the layoff very well. Take a Stand is another one you can take a shot at in race number 5. My top selection, though, is going to be Rest of the Story. Race number 6, my top selection is Kaylee's Fantasy. Kaylee's Fantasy, this one is, I guess, my overall top selection in this race. First start, Twirling Candy. Yes, it's true. Speed on both sides of the pedigree, both her siblings showed speed and won early. So I think this one could be a little bit of a price. Kaylee's sister, Kaylee's Fantasy, 12 to 1 in the morning line. Again, speed in the pedigree, speed on the siblings. Rockin' Ronnie Allen goes, longtime veteran jockey, 12 to 1 in the morning line. He does well with speed horses. Another one to consider is another one for Kathleen O'Connell. First Lasix, 6 to 1. Dream Concert is another one you may want to take a look at 5 to 1 on the morning line. My top selection in race number 6 is going to be Kaylee's Fantasy. Now, Paul Harvey, yes, Anthony, chance. He was great, if you remember him. Rest of the story on a hunch. Yes, Paul Harvey is what I assume this one is what it's named after. Paul Harvey always used to end his show with the rest of the story, and now you know the rest of the story. So Anthony filling us in on Paul Harvey. Now we go to the stakes portion of the schedule, races 7 through 11. You've got the Columbia, you've got the Challenger, you've got the Hillsborough, you've got the Florida Oaks, and the Tampa Bay Derby. Overall, when you take a look at race number 7, where I'm sitting at in this race, the Columbia, we start off with Freedom Trail, Sendaroo, Western Yarn, Nega's Boy, Lights of Broadway, Summer Bee, Worthington, Smoke Lightning, Mo Stash, and Hawk of the Nation in race number 7, all part of the Columbia Stakes. Now, in this race, the speed I think you have to worry about is Light of Broadway. This one possibly could be the speed of the race. I think another one you want to take a look at is Worthington. He ran in the Sam F. Davis. Now he goes back to the turf. So you're getting dirt to turf. Didn't run that well the last time, but remember the Sam F. Davis was run during a driving rainstorm with a heavy wind, and several of the horses just didn't fire their best effort that day on the Sam F. Davis during that race because the rainstorm also picked up for the Philly race that day as well. So I see this race as a lot of speed. You've got Freedom Trail at the rail, Mo Stash off the layoff, but my top selection in the Columbia Stakes is going to be Mo Stash off the layoff, won the debut, was second at Keeneland to a Breeders' Cup runner, Private Creed, who also ran in a stakes race at the fairgrounds the last time out. So going to take a little bit of a shot, try to get about 4 to 1 on the price with number 9, Mo Stash, in the Columbia Stakes on race number 7. Now, for the Challenger Stakes, we've got a good field of 8. You've got Trademark off a layoff. You've got Skippy Longstocking shipping in from Gulfstream Park. Mighty Heart with good form at Woodbine. Classic Causeway, 2 for 2 at Tampa Bay. Won the Sam F. Davis last year and the Tampa Bay Derby. Also, Shirley Furious with some back class. The Reds for Safi Joseph. Taxes won a lot of money, a little bit of a drop for him. And then Business Model on the outside. Definitely another one with some class in this race. Definitely don't want to take too short of a price. Now, Trademark comes off a layoff, won the last time out at 3 to 1. Before that, won at 23 to 1. So really ships in with 2 straight stakes races. I think a mile on the 16th is a good distance for Trademark. Skippy Longstocking ran in the Pegasus Cup the last time out, was 9 to 1 against Art Collector, won the Harlan's Holiday. I'm not sure I like the inside draw for Skippy Longstocking. And then you've got a horse like Mighty Heart. He's a winner, 7 for 24, 1 for 1 at Tampa Bay. Last time out against Emmanuel, that was on the turf. Now goes back to the dirt. That's where he runs his best races. Has some good synthetic form. He did run in the Ben Alley Stakes at Keeneland, but he does have a 3rd place finish against Fearless last year in the Harlan's Holiday at Gulfstream Park. He may have a little bit of class. Shirley Furious, this one you definitely want to take a look at. This is the type of horse I want to include. Has some back class and some speed figures that fits in this race. So Shirley Furious is definitely one to use as a long shot or in your doubles or your pick 4s and pick 5s. Tax is another back classer in the Challenger Stakes, race number 8 on Saturday at Tampa Bay. Definitely one you can use in that race. You go back to My top selection in the race, I'm going to go with number 1, Trademark. Trademark drew the rail, ran at Tampa, back-to-back wins. He's off a little bit of a layoff. I think a little bit of a class drop, and the best races, that's where he shows speed, and he did draw inside of some of the other speed. The Reds, I think, is going to take a little bit back. I think Shirley Furious is definitely one you can use from a little bit off the pace, and my top selection is going to be Trademark in race number 8, the Challenger Stakes. Now you go to the turf, race number 9, the Hillsborough. You've got California Queen, the German bred, surprisingly won last time out at Tampa Bay. Tampa City Tear. Then you've got a couple of horses for Chad Brown. They're going to take a lot of money. Ruger has been in and out. And then you got Shantasara, bet down the last time, didn't fire totally, was bet down a couple of times last year, has some back class, has some European form, but at this point, it's kind of hard to play Shantasara at too low of a price. Scottish Star is another one who has some form, and in a race like this could kind of perk up. I think Shantasara is going to be the big favorite. I think a 1.125 distance suits her, but Chad Brown also has California Queen. She ran 3rd in the Long Island. She ran 3rd in the Athena Stakes. She ran in the EP Taylor Stakes last year at Woodbine. She does her best running on a yielding course, so she ain't going to get that on Saturday. Right now, when you look at this race, hey, Danny, thanks for the support on the channel. Longtime watcher of the channel, Danny, supporting the channel here. And thank you very much for watching and commenting and being a part of the channel's success. Scottish Star, this one, Chad Brown with these 3 horses, and it seems like lately, he puts in these 2-3 horses. Now, I do think California Queen is another one that runs best on a softer course. Now, Surprising got up in the final stride the last time, saved ground in that race, beat Scottish Star in the last stride. I think Scottish Star might have run a little bit better race that day. So I would probably lean a little bit more with Luis Saez. Luis Saez has ridden this one to more speed in a lot of her races. And then also you've got Shantasara. My top selection in race number 9, the Hillsborough Stakes, is going to be, remember, smash that like button. That gets us more watchers for these videos and more. I'd like to do more handicap shows before these big full cards of stakes races. So with your support, we can do those. Gives you a chance to watch. And then, ultimately what I'm trying to do with these shows is really you can kind of handicap along, take a look at my notes, write down your notes, and then say, okay, this is what we're looking at here. And then, point out some horses that you may not have taken a look at, give you my best bet of the day, handicap the feature race, just kind of get a little bit more people kind of into the handicapping process rather than just trying to pick winners. So again, one of the reasons why I don't like California Queen and Roger on Saturday is I think they do their best running on a soft course. So that is where I think they're going to do their best in that race. So the Hillsborough, again, California Queen, surprisingly a winner the last time. Temple City Tear has some races that put her competitive in this spot. If you want to key a pick 5 horse, you may want to look at Shantasara or Scottish Star. If you want to go a little bit deeper, then you may want to include Surprising and Shantasara and Scottish Star. I think the horse that kind of gives it a little bit of a kicker in this race is Scottish Star, or maybe even surprisingly in this race, is I think Shantasara is going to be the big favorite in race number 9. Now, that is a look at the Hillsborough Stakes. Now you go to the Florida Oaks, which is race number 10. And on this race, the Florida Oaks, you're going to get a look at, solid field of horses. You've got some of these horses that have tried dirt. Some have tried turf. Some are Tampa Bay. I do want to point out the 20-1 on Juniper's Moon. She's by Galileo, and Galileo is a strong turf sire over in Europe. And this horse was able to run strong on the turf first time out. ran second. Then the last time out, and kind of a prep for this race, went wire to wire at 5-1. I think this horse is going to be overlooked on the tote board a little bit. Juniper's Moon is a 20-1 shot that you can use in a race, and Juniper's Moon is definitely one that I'm going to be using in my pick 5. I think it's a total turf horse. Free Look is going to be bet down. She, of course, ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Again, Chad Brown, this one ran big in the Miss Griot Stakes at Belmont and then won at Saratoga. But off the layoff, Irad Ortiz, you're going to get even money. And Free Look is definitely the favorite in the race. But I think horses that you want to use are more like Mohawk Trail and a horse like Grace Darling in the Florida Oaks. So when you look at this race, if you want a key, you're going to got to either key the low price and Free Look, or you want to try to spread a little bit. And I think if you're going to spread in this race, you can use Ticker Take Home, Grace Darling, and also a horse like Juniper's Moon, who's 20-1 in the morning line, but I think will probably be a more like about 10-1 in the betting on Saturday. So the Florida Oaks is race number 10. They are going to go 1 mile and a 16th. So now we go to the granddaddy of them all, the favorite, the big stakes race on the day. Take a look at the field. Starting off at the rail, we've got Lord Miles. Now, the key factor in this race, if you didn't notice, Lord Miles loses the blinker this time, ships in from Gulfstream Park, and drops a little bit in class. So you've got a bunch of horses coming out of the Sam F. Davis, and then you've got some new horses shipping in from Gulfstream Park, like Lord Miles, Tapit, Trice, and Shesterkin also shipping in from Gulfstream Park. Now, remember, the Sam F. Davis has got 5 horses coming back in this race. And one of the things in this race is I think there is a lot of speed in this race. So Nolan, I think you're going in the right direction here. What to do with the number 5, Mikey Bananas. Mikey Bananas is one of those horses that could show speed along with Classic Legacy. You've also got Classic Car Wash, and then you've got Shesterkin and Zydeco. Now, Lord Miles comes from off the pace. Classic Car Wash won back-to-back races at Gulfstream, but the key factor there is he ran in some slower speed fractions that day. So slower speed figures at the half mile and the 6 furlong call. Now, Classic Legacy ran in the Sam F. Davis, but the fractions were a little bit slow that day, but that was a driving rainstorm. It was windy, and I just didn't think he ran his best races. So Groveland was put a little bit further back in the field in the Sam F. Davis, and then he came running late. I think he's still improving for Godolphin and a veteran trainer like Eoin Hardy. And yeah, Henry, I think you're right. I think you're getting some good odds on the 2 Saffy horses, on Lord Miles and also on Prairie Hawk. The one thing with Prairie Hawk, he drew the outside post. Now, Prairie Hawk broke dead last in the Sam F. Davis in that rainstorm. Then he made a move, ran evenly late. I think Prairie Hawk is definitely the type of horse that could be in this exacta along with Lord Miles. And I think a horse that could probably get a little bit overbet a little bit is Dreaming of Kona. Now, Shesterkin was 4-5 against Tapit Trice the last time. Tapit Trice ended up winning by 8 lengths. He broke a little bit slow that day, went wide on the turn, drew off by 8 lengths. That was only Shesterkin's 2nd lifetime race. So Shesterkin, I don't think he can really turn the tables on a horse like Tapit Trice. I do think he's one you can use as the speed. Danny's question in this race is Champion's Dream not worth a look? You get a longer price. So this is one where I agree with you on the fact that you're going to get a higher price. You're going to get a couple of horses from Gulfstream that are being bet a little bit higher than I think their odds. I think Freedom Trail is not really going to be able to go 1 mile and a 16th. I don't think Mikey Bananas can go 1 mile and a 16th. And Champion's Dream won the Nashua Stakes and then ran 2nd at Tampa Bay. So I think Danny's on the right path here. I think you want to throw out that last race of Champion's Dream. He's been training well. He gets a fast track, and his best races have been on a fast track. So I think he can definitely be 2nd. I think he could be possibly 1st if you want to include a long shot. So what I would say here is Champion's Dream is one you can use because I think a few of these horses are going to be overbet based on the fact that they got a little bit more favorable conditions. But I think Champion's Dream can take advantage of the horses closing because I do think there is a lot of speed in this race. So that's why I think Champion's Dream is a type of horse that you can use. Now, another horse to take a look at, I think, is Groveland. Only 5 lifetime starts. He's got 4 starts at Tampa. He's got a win at Tampa. I think he can run a little bit better. Mikey Bananas, best races have been at 6 furlongs. He also ran well at synthetic surface. Now, in this race, you've got Luis Saez stays aboard Tapit Trice. And then you've got Shesterkin getting a new jockey. Irad Ortiz rode that one the last time. Irad Ortiz rides a few of the races on Saturday at Tampa Bay. He is going to be riding Classic Legacy. And Classic Legacy, if you don't know, is a half brother to Art Collector. Of course, Art Collector ran in the Preakness Stakes a couple of years ago, also won the Pegasus World Cup. One of the things I do note that in the last few years, sometimes some of the horses from Gulfstream Park, their form did not ship to Tampa Bay. So a few of the Todd Pletcher runners have not run well in the Tampa Bay Derby and the Sam F. Davis. A few of the runners at Tampa Bay that have been bet down. So that is my only concern about Tapit Trice in this race, is how does he handle the Tampa Bay surface? Also, he's got a full field, and he's going to have to face other speed. So he's going to be coming from mid-pack. I think overall that is probably going to help Tapit Trice. My top selection is going to be, let's take a look at the top contenders. First off, you've got Tapit Trice, you've got Groveland, Classic Car Wash, Prairie Hawk, and Shesterkin. Now, I think those are going to be the lower price horses. I'm hoping that there's a little bit of a pace meltdown. So when I look at this race, my top selection is going to be Tapit Trice. I think he's improving. He's got back-to-back wins. He's got a win at Gulfstream. He faced a little bit better horses. Now, some of the angles that kind of you have to take a second look at, he's going off Lasix. He used Lasix the last time. He's facing other speed, and he's got to go to Tampa Bay. So those are some of the things that you do have to look at when you look at Tapit Trice. I do think Tapit Trice will be about 7-5. I think Shesterkin could be about 6-1. I think Groveland could be maybe 5 or 6-1. The Derby Bandit, he likes Groveland. That's his play of the day. He says you've got to use him in your pick 3s. You've got to use him in your pick 5s. Derby Bandit says you've got to use Irad on the favorites early on in the card. But this race, kind of a head scratcher. So yeah, definitely some ones to watch. So what I'm going to do is kind of play exactas. I'm kind of play the class of the race. Tapit Trice as the winner. And then I'm going to use Champion's Dream in my exacta. I'm going to use Lord Miles in my exacta. I'm going to use Groveland in my exacting. And I may possibly use Classic Legacy. So who are some of the horses that you want to use in the exacta? Henry says you can use Classic Legacy, Mott 22% off the layoff. And yes, the pedigree to Art Collector. I think he's still improving. And again, he may just not have liked that rainstorm. We saw last year on Belmont Day, a horse from Europe, it was pouring rain, won that race at 20-1. I just think some of these horses like Classic Legacy and a few of these other horses like Classic Car Wash, they may have not have liked that. It was very windy and it was raining in the Sam F. Davis. And you also can use some of these horses. I think they can improve here in this spot, and they can maybe complete the exacta. So I'd rather have Classic Legacy a little bit longer of a price. I'd rather have Lord Miles at a little bit of a price, even Prairie Hawk, because he broke the last time. And then he really just ran evenly after that. I think he can improve. I don't like the 12th post position for a horse like Prairie Hawk, but 2 back, he had a win at Tampa in a small field, and a horse that he beat in that race, Classic Catch, came back to win at Gulfstream. And he is probably going to be one of the top 5 or 6 favorites in the Wood Memorial in a couple of weeks in New York. And that is another runner trained by Todd Pletcher. So I like to look at the form of these races. Who are some of the horses that you can use? So it is an all stakes pick 5. When you look at possible singles, usually what I try to do on a day like today, that I can try to do a couple of tickets and then do a couple of keys. So I think the 3 heaviest played horses on Saturday are going to be Shantasara, and then I think also Tapit Trice. And then I also think you can do 1 ticket keying Tapit Trice. You can do another ticket keying Shantasara, but you want to be able to include some price horses in these races. So when I look at the price horses that I want to play, leave a comment on some horses that you're going to use in the pick 3, pick 4, and pick 5 on Saturday. I think you could use Lights of Broadway as a horse. I think Worthington going back to the turf are possible horses in the 7th race. Then in the 8th race, a horse that I definitely want to use, my top selection, Trademark. Definitely take a look at Shirley Furious. He's 15-1. That trainer wins with prices and does have some good races coming off the pace in a race with a lot of speed. The Hillsborough, I think my big long shot there is probably a horse more like Scottish Star at 6-1. And then I think in the Tampa Bay Derby, if you want a price, you go with Lord Miles, you go with Champion's Dream or Classic Legacy. I don't think Shesterkin can win the race, but I think he can press the pace and make sure you get some honest fractions. So David says, make sure to use 3, 4, 6, 11. And Derby Bandit says 3, 4, 6 for race number 11 as some of the prices on the Tampa Bay Derby. So remember, starts right around new time, East Coast time, 12 races on the card, a full field of races. And then the final race of the day, I've got a little bit of a price, maiden race on the turf. They're going to have back-to-back pick 4s starting in race number 8 and 9. And then the all-stakes pick 5 at Tampa is races 7 through 11. The Tampa Bay Derby is race number 11. Race number 12, my top selection, if you want to do some doubles with the Tampa Bay Derby, is number 2, Volatility. 8-1 in the morning line. I like the Empire Makers on the turf, was 3rd in the turf race. Again, dirt to turf. And those are some of the horses that I'm going to be using. Once again, thanks for Danny for sponsoring the show today, giving thanks, $20 donation to the show. What I want to do as we get closer to the Derby, I want to start doing some Friday night handicapping shows, some Derby talk, some Kentucky Oaks talk, and take a look at your questions. Derby Bandit says his play of the day, race 7, win on Lights of Broadway. Definitely like you're thinking there. I think could be the speed of the speed. Anthony says Tapit Trice wins going away. And Galileo Jewel, definitely with the Galileo turf breeding. People may overlook that. I don't think you're going to get 20-1, Henry, but I do think you could get 10-1 in that race. So if you're watching after the show, make sure to leave some comments and questions. I can answer those. Remember, we are going to do a recap on Sunday of the action on Saturday. We'll do a recap. I do got a full preview of the Tampa Bay Derby up. We did do a Derby update on Monday if you want to watch that on the channel here as we get you ready for the 2023 Kentucky Derby. And reminder, everybody who watches this, if you could hit that like button, that gets more people into the feed, more people see the channel. We want to do some more handicapping shows as we get you ready for the 2023 Kentucky Derby. Leave a comment, leave a question, smash that like button as we get you ready for the 2023. Remember, I will be at Tampa Bay on Saturday. Remember to say hi, walk up to me. I will be by the winner's circle after the races, and I will be by the paddock before all the races. And good luck to everybody. My best bet of the day is going to be, I think Trademark is going to be one of my keys of the day. I'm going to be using Shirley Furious. I like Tapit Trice in the Tampa Bay Derby. I also want to take a look at a horse in race 12. I do think you can definitely use a horse, a volatility at 8-1 on the morning line. Perform is going to be bet down with Irad Ortiz in race number 2, but my top selection in race number 2 is going to be Ringside. Thanks for watching, everybody, as we get you ready for the 2023 Kentucky Derby. Enjoy the Tampa Bay Derby card on Saturday.